hospital who's dying of cancer. And on the way out of there, you have to skirt around a whole mountain range. You just can't take the easiest way in a straight line out. It'd be nice, but it doesn't work that way. You have to skirt around these mountains. And, I had a Ford Taurus with a police interceptor motor, and roughly an 8-liter motor, just a real monster. And there were 2 long Ford E350 vans, and they all had Air Force markings on them. They all had guns, and they were all shooting, and they were missing. And I flew by them and took a picture of their, as a blur, I took a picture of them, got a very good picture of their license plates. And then they sped up and tried to squeeze me in this way, and then finally I just slid right in the middle of the road, and the road was just wide enough for basically one-way traffic. And one of them rolled over and kept going down for about 300 or 400 feet down a very steep ravine. The other one was a shallow ravine about 10 feet deep. And I just kind of peered over, got the hook of my seatbelt, peered over, and there was a big fire started on down there. I could hear people screaming, but I'm sorry, it's their deal. I just kept on going. That was one way. Recently I got shot at when I was with a retired FBI agent. We were going to go to a Patriot talk show down near Salem, Oregon. And I got shot here, here, and here. It's what's called the CIA cocktail. I don't have normal ribs after Dulce, New Mexico fiasco, where my ribs were burnt and cauterized, my fingers are burnt off of me, etc. I have a plastic plate in here, a nylon plate that has bumps on it, looks like ribs and everything. So those bullets just kind of lodged in this thick, 5/8-inch thick plastic, movable plastic thing on the inside, and that was dug out. And once again, here I am recuperating from another problem, and all because I'm trying to bring the American public. And I love my country more than my life, otherwise I wouldn't be doing this ridiculous group of things by coming clean, but I feel I have to because the American public has not only been lied to, but when I was asked to, by the intelligence community within the Air Force to continue my operations and black budget work, stealthy work, what would I think if they said that I would be betraying the American public? I told them to go fly it, go stuff it or whatever. I says I won't be a party to that. And I walked out of the room, and somebody tried to tell me to come back, and I says, out of my face, fella, you're on the ground. He would get out of my face and went on the ground. And I walked away, and from then on I made a decision. And I'll stick by it. That's why I'm here talking. I also want to get a little political sided here, although I don't like to. Right now we have an out-of-touch, runaway federal government structure that really doesn't care about the way you and I feel. They manipulate evidences of crimes, as in several instances, both in Waco and other. The Waco hearings should have been a wake-up call to most who were watching, even if they'd only watched a piece of it. It's once again proves the federal government structure is just running away with everybody's freedom, and they run roughshod over. They've actually become kings and queens over us, and our forefathers told us exactly what would happen if we took a certain stand, if we made laws to legislate God out of our system, we would have a similar problem. If we made laws or had too many people making laws within our government structure, we would have a similar problem that we're facing today. We're facing a form of tyranny and totalitarianism. Incidentally, you might want to throw a few statistics by you. and it's quite provable in a number of talks given recently, both by the United Nations and others. The United Nations is entrenched in our country. They're training our troops. Our troops are being trained by the United Nations in the United States, and I think that's kind of an oddball system. Russian troops are being trained on basically Montana and North Dakota and the northern tier states, Washington, upstate Washington, etc. There's a stockpiling of Russian tanks and hardware by the U.S. Army. For what purpose? Also, we purchased at the cost of some $38 billion all the Russian nerve gas. Nerve gas is, their nerve gas is extremely long shelf life. We're destroying our own nerve gas, which has a relatively short shelf life of 15 years. But the Russian variety is extremely deadly, and also, I'll tell you something else about that. The Russian nerve gas is composed primarily of glandular secretions, and they even mentioned that as they were downing flying saucers within their own country, they found a way of making chemical weapons from some of the alien cadavers and that kind of thing like that. So from some of the glandular excretions. So once again, biological weapons against the people of the United States. There have been other talks given by other people alluring to this, including Ted Gunderson, who's an ex-FBI agent, who's got tired of the federal government tromping on him, and another ex-astronaut by the name of James Groden, not the Groden of Alternative 3 book fame, but this is another Groden. A number of key government people have started coming out slowly, but unfortunately it's at a snail's pace. I'm the only one that ever worked and had a level 3 security clearance that came out from the cold, so to speak, and completely laid everything open to the American public, or any public. Something like this was tried in Britain and in France, but the person got jailed. Incidentally, I can't be charged with espionage theoretically because, according to our, including one person who said, "Oh, this place doesn't exist." Well, it's on an aerial map, kind of different. If it doesn't exist, then I'm just full of you know what, hype and hooey, so to speak, and I'm just crazy or something like that, and so be it. And if it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist. And how can I be charged with a crime on something that doesn't exist? Another thing is that to be guilty of espionage, you have to sell for dollars or cents or some form of monetary gain the information that you impart. I'm not doing that in any way, shape, or form. The talk, the lecture, isn't counted. It's actual exchange of money by another individual for the information, for the proscribed information. Well, I'm going to be getting out a few alien artifacts here and let you take a look, and you're welcome to kind of stretch your legs a little bit and take a peek. Also these things here so you can see them. Talking about, if you look at very carefully, and I'll leave my hand lens out for you to take a peek. By the way, when you use this hand lens, you want to get right up on the object like this. You'll see a line going straight through with the wood layers, the cambium coming this way as whatever went through it, burnt through it. It's very interesting philosophy. And there's another out-of-place artifact, or boom part, so to speak. This is another fossil. This is at one time a cave mushroom, a fossil plant. It's something cut it absolutely perfectly, like a laser, cut right through the thing, and part of it slid off, and it later got perfectly petrified, similarly to the Hiroshima and Nagasaki atomic bomb test with a similar signature. Here's this petrified, instantly petrified garlic plant. Incidentally, this is 65 to 100 million years old. This is 105 to 130 million years old, and this is roughly 30 million years old. It has the exact chemical makeup and structure of quartz crystals formed on its surface, and on the internal structure of the plant itself, which the top part, of course, the sprout is all broken off. This is the sprout underneath it, and the quartz crystals are identical to material found at Hiroshima and Nagasaki after the Three Tropics bomb. Here's a bottle of the RAM coating of the black jets. Of course, when they come in after their mission, they're glowing red hot, and they drip this particular material off on this end quote tarmac. This isn't tar, it's a special cement, and it just drips. And maybe some of these aircraft, you might see drip spots like here and here and there and different places. And this is the material, it's like lava that drops off of it. It also contains certain alien elements, or alien reproduced elements. Here's a piece of fossil coral from Jordan, having a small particular non-fossil. It isn't a crinoid. Some of you might know what a crinoid fossil is. It's kind of like an underwater lily or plant, seawater lily, but this isn't it. This is actual machined out part, similar to a rotor fan, a miniature rotor fan. There's a small engine right there. This is element 123, which is also in topaline. Topaline and element 123, they're very much heavier than uranium. They're island of stability elements. They're, by the way, these pieces of metal I've purchased with my own money when I worked for the government. As they were test samples, they never bothered to pick them back up, nor did they pay me back for them, so they're my property. But it's a golden orange metal. The pure metal is pure golden orange, and like lead, you can just carve it. It's a very peculiar metal indeed. Totally stable, cannot be isotoped. Element 123 with an atomic weight of about 320, and here it is. It's almost twice the weight of uranium.
Where did that come from, Phil?
That was formed down at Dulce, New Mexico, and also there were scrap heaps and scrap piles of it in and around Tonopah Test Range, which is right here. Tonopah Test Range is actually above Groom Lake.
Is that metal from our soil? Is it metal from our soil?
No. This is an alien. This is two alien elements. And here, if I might show you,
Highest the grit lamp was 108. Highest the grit lamp was about 108.
I thought I had some. Yeah, here we go.
A few years ago.
This periodic chart was developed by a number of scientists anonymously. Don't want their name revealed. Of course, all we're familiar with is element 103. That's been around for a long time. And a couple of these are made in Russia. These that don't have any name, they're very short-lived indeed. Element 109 to 110 also. But after, from 111 to 140, these are all elements that were garnered off of alien attack vehicles or alien spaceships or flying saucers when they were taken apart. Now, topaline is here. element 117, and element 123 is myrnite. It's a combination of both those for an extremely hard substance capable of withstanding temperatures in excess of 9,500 degrees Fahrenheit to as much as 14,000 degrees Fahrenheit. This piece of material is it's a kind of in a fleur-de-lis pattern. This kind of material is lighter than lithium. Of course, lithium is number 3. Might want to point out it's number 3 on the scale. It's a terrestrial element, but this is somewhere between 2 and 3, between helium and lithium. It also is an alien element. It's what they call a mixture, an admixture element. It's extremely light, and it's used in the airframes of all black jets and F-117A, B-2, and B-1, B-2, and B-30, or the Aurora series. And it comes in a scalenohedrocrystalline form, which is alien. It's kind of a dead giveaway. Here's a tabular scalenohedrocrystalline form, 4 times the hardness of a diamond, 4 times the tensile strength, capable of withstanding temperatures in excess of 45,000 degrees Fahrenheit before chemical breakdown. It is used in the window the small slit windows. They're in the underbellies and the blackened out windows of the actual cockpit, although most of these pilots fly blind. They don't ever see anything from the ground. So this kind of that's also an alien material, and it is element, if I remember right, it's element 113. Here's another alien element formed in the confines of outer space. You might ask, what are we space shuttling with all our shuttle missions? Of course, we're being lied to every time they talk or open their lips with their mouth. The same crystalline structure is here as well as it is here. This material is the hardness of a diamond. It's also used in the rotor and propeller shafts of propellered aircraft or rotored aircraft. It's also used in high-speed drills and other kinds of things like that, which are used to make holes in metals that cannot be touched with a welding torch. And this, of course, is that hunk of metal. And I have a real treat here. When I was 14 years old, I was with my father, who was talking to us, Sir Johnny Rawlins. It's Johnny H. Rawlins, who was a British naval sea lord, and he had collected some of the crash retrieval objects of the infamous Roswell crash, and these are actually little bits of the skin that have. And of course, you remember the skin, you couldn't bend it or cut it or anything. The way they did this, of course, they dropped liquid nitrogen on it, and they used a hammer technique of shattering it, and it became brittle. But once again, it's composed of nothing but alien elements, which are, by the way, we're not able to understand where this particular elements come from in the skin. It's the thickness of the sheets of paper you're writing on, and that's all it's needed to be meteor-proof and missile-proof and everything else. And these things have crashed, of course, and they've also been shot down by luck, predominantly not by skill. And I'll let you look at that. You can handle these other things, but don't handle this.
You say they've been shot down, Phil. How would they have done that with a
charged particle? Charged particle
weapons.
Beam weapon, as well as a railgun. A reusable railgun. And
That works so like the shotgun, you spray it out.
no, not really. A railgun is is an electronic gun that shoots a projectile about 25,000 miles an hour, much faster than any rifle bullet. I'll have a question and answer period. You can come up, take a look at these artifacts. Here's a couple of magazines. Spotlight. Anyway, here's the Alien Digest that got my friend killed. Here's some of my father's notes. Those are blanks there, but there's the famous popular science about secret airbase. By the way, if it doesn't exist, how come they printed it? Here's a Nazi saucer. That was done by Vladimir Cherzhersky, who was a Russian space engineer of some fame. Here's the new periodic chart of the elements. You can go ahead and look through it. Incidentally, here is a unique piece of hardware too. It's an ordinary gold watch. The only thing unique about this particular gold watch is that it's a Waltham, but on the back, on the reverse, it's made in Montauk, New York. It just happened to be used by my dad in the Philadelphia experiment. And it happens to be keeping a rather accurate time. Anyway, I need a seat, and I'll let you look.
Can we get one of those periodic tires?
Actually, the heaviest is the Mernite, that kind of gold-looking material. Be very gentle with these. These aren't normal specimens. And one person handling one piece at a time.
Can we get a periodic chart like that? Use some of those?
Yes, I do. These are $4 a piece.
Okay, I'll take one.
And a year ago, these were secret. Above top secret. By the way, here's your. Thank you very much. Let's see what this is for you. After we take a look, I'm going to ask you to take your seat, and we'll have a question and answer period, and then I'll wrap it up. Okay. The aerial maps are $2 if you want one of those. Those are actual aerial maps used at Groom Lake, and those were made in 1966. I also have portfolios of selected pictures of the atomic bomb blasts at Bikini, as well as Val Thor. And if there's some of them that need labeling, I'll label them for you after the talk.
Do you have one like that?
Yes, I do. Matter of fact, this I can't sell. Take a look inside of that canyon, so to speak. We get an interesting formation. See how the wood fibers have just literally been separated. Yeah, that's right. Of course, you've heard about straws and going through telephone poles after a tornado. Well, maybe this was that kind of a thing, although it seems really remote.
Oh, those $20.
Yeah, these are $20, and they're a select group.
Is this in there too?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll just throw this in. How about that? What's inside these? There's a select group of pictures, like here at the streaked saucers leaving ground zero. I have other ones that are marked with USS Eldridge. This is, by the way, is the USS Eldridge ready room. It's a ready room aboard the USS Eldridge. I think Al Bielek will verify that. And that's one of their. How many ready rooms? Is Al here?
Yeah.
How many ready rooms were aboard the USS Eldridge?
Theoretically, two. I only knew of one because that's the only one I ever went in.
Okay.
The lecturing varied between various lectures.
It lists the people, there's different people, not all the people, although you can do your homework and probably find that out. these are going, after this talk, these placards are going to be duplicated on special paper and sent to the United States Senate, and of which these pictures will not only be totally declassified, but will be out in public domain.
Are you taking a picture of this? Are you taking a picture of all of them?
And if anything's not marked, if I haven't marked, I'll try and identify them for you.
That's after they.
Christian, did you?
I could give you a map of Groom Lake also.
Did you?
Sure, I'll be. Again, doesn't work.
That could be.
Yeah, what a difference. This is the heaviest one?
Yeah.
It's the hardest one?
Let me see.
What should say the 300 feet?
That's not the only thing I've purchased here.
Where are we?
So wait for from here.
From here, I give a couple more talks. I am uprooting myself. I'm probably going to live in Idaho.
Want to go through a boat?
No, I don't think so. I think we'll go get along.
What is there?
Man, I kind of like the guy actually.
This is the stuff that dips off of the stuff?
Yep, it is.
And what is that called?
It's called RAM. I call them the fellow who sent them to me, the Aurora drops. Sent to me by the base commander over there. Because I did enough work on this. I helped do a lot of the aerospace applications. Anyway, radar absorbent material.
This product?
Yeah. Incidentally, you can take your portfolios and copy the actual Joint Army-Navy Task Force language under those photographs, and that's the official language. I've stuck my own word in.
Do you have all that in there? You don't have all that in there, do you?
Yes, well, I don't have all of them, but there's a select group. You can look through it and see the different ones that are selected.
You know, that's 3 years ago, you said?
Yeah. You got A-bomb disease, A-class anemia. Some of your careers, atomic war veterans. Atomic hero veterans. Pardon me, but I'm going to take a seat in my back and my chest. It still hurts.
You want us to wait to ask questions?
No, actually, we'll continue to look on these people. Write down the names of that. We'll start the Q&A here in about 10 minutes, 5 minutes, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Will you leave those out? I don't want them to video.
I think you'll have to sign up for the video, and you may have to...
I said I don't want to be in the video, but I want to see them.
Oh, okay. Did you hear the lady? She doesn't want to be in the video, but she'd like to look at those.
Go ahead.
So when she's up here, will you shut your camera off?
I don't,
Which one is this? Right there. No, I mean, which event is this? This is
Right here, this one. Flying disc leaving ground zero, Joint Army, maybe task force one photograph, but at least below
Is
the
that
water.
a test?
This was the Bikini Island.
Oh, okay.
Bikini Island.
This was one.
Boston.
What date is it? 47?
Yeah. July 1947. Piece of paper, and so I'm signing it. Walking away. And when I walked away, 29 other engineers walked away. We walked away in a group. We submitted our papers to the U.S. Supreme Court immediately through the Ninth Court, the Circuit Court of Appeals in San Francisco.
Withdrawing from the job?
Department of Justice.
Have they had problems like you?
Oh, yes. Quite a few people come out in the open. There's another thing I might want to mention very briefly. How about cold fusion? Supposed Nobel laureate physicist. Of course, that was very quickly quashed because if cold fusion became a reality, we could make our own electricity in our kitchen. And make car batteries for our cars that would last forever and other kinds of things like that. Cold fusion, this is the chemical formula for the metal oxide used in cold fusion, which is very similar to the metal oxides in alien elements used in airframes of black chips.
Bill,
What?
does the average engineer in this country not understand the thing about the bomb not being possible?
I haven't talked to a single engineer. I've probably talked to 400 of them so far, and everyone knows the federal government is involved up to their eyeballs.
How about school teachers, scientists, a degree?
School teachers, I haven't talked to too many of them. They still believe it was a fertilizer bomb.
Most school teachers don't think.
Most school teachers, you're right, do not think. Higher education is a joke. Need this anymore here?
Was that the bonds and, these are the cold fusion?
Yeah.
And your point was that it was valid, that
It was very valid. It was proven. People donated the award to Greenpeace at the end of it all. I'm not a proponent of them, and I guess they did pretty good work. Anyway, the award was $140,000 for their discovery, and the U.S. military said, no, you can't do this. Now they're working with cold fusion with Japan. The information is forbidden to be told the public of the United States. Once again, we're treated as babies and children by our federal government structure and told that and lied to and saying that this is a bunch of hype. I'll tell you folks, if we don't do some serious changing and talking in groups, maybe in small groups like I'm doing, but maybe not coming, have to come clean and come out of the woodwork, so to speak. But you have to talk in groups of what you learn. And if you do this, word of mouth is a wonderful thing. And from that, we might be able to continue and have our freedoms that we so aptly take for granted in these wonderful United States. And I've been in over 70 countries. I've never found another country as beautiful as the United States.
Well, Einstein, shortly after the first bombs went off, said that
Now we're going to have the question and answer period. And
when it came to the nuclear, you can apply to all this other. It's got to be discussed in every village square. That was 50 years ago.
question and answers, folks. If you got them, let's hear them.
I was reading in that underground book, that I purchased a couple of
Oh,
days
the Richard Sauter book?
Yeah, and he was talking about, I've been interested in the underground railroad system ever since I heard Mel Bailey talk about it about 3 years ago.
I helped build the tunnel.
But in the book, they don't tell anything about the newer drills that build the tunnels.
There are no drills.
There's no drills.
No drills.
It's a nuclear boring machine.
It's a nuclear boring
It
machine
melts its way through the
that
rock.
literally melts or deflagrates the rock and to an extremely fine powder, melts it, and sticks it on the walls.
But he said
Vitrified.
in the book that he didn't know if they had ever went ahead and made that machine.
Well, the machine's existing, but I can tell you even who Krupp of West Germany made the machine.
He had no pictures of the later of that machine. What he had was more of the obsolete machines. in the
Even
book.
obsolete equipment can drill up to 7 miles a day. And we've been lied to when they say a quarter of a mile a day.
Even through solid rock.
Even through solid rock. Yes, sir.
7 miles a day.
Even if they have to take the material out and haul it away.
There's nothing to take out.
Here's another, nothing to take out to speak of. It's all vaporized. Here's another piece of titanium metal mixed with alien elements. Very hard material. Doesn't break. It's used in all of the black jets, stealth aircraft.
Why was the big mercury mines that were found by Las Vegas, why were they confiscated?
They run very deep, for one thing. They were used for everything from atomic waste disposal to putting bad news aliens in, making a little jail out of it, I guess, if you wanted to call it that. It's a good way of, once again, hiding the problem from the public.
So it's tied into the underground system where the mines were?
Absolutely.
Where were they by? They were outside of Las Vegas, I've heard.
They're over near Mercury, Nevada.
You were talking about 129 of the underground bases and about half of them being used to house the aliens. What are the other half used for?
The other half are used strategically by different military organizations, mostly Army and Air Force and Navy, for research and development laboratories predominantly, and also medical research and development laboratories and chemical weapon laboratories. Once again, these bases have been built unceasingly day and night since 1940. And if you were to add up all the bases, all the cost of all the bases, it's pretty close to $2 quadrillion.
How can they keep this so, keep the public so uninformed,
Well, it's pretty
especially
easy.
the people that live around the areas?
It's pretty easy to keep it away from the public. They've done a real good job of it, with the exception of people like myself that come out of the woodwork, so to speak. The public believes the lie, the big lie. Of course, you know the old adage about lies is you have to keep telling them to keep, and then you get to a point in time where you believe them to such a degree that you become part of the lie. You live the lie.
Is this where they do their cloning?
Supposedly, a lot of these things are horrific beyond degree. Traumatic events that I went through caused me to get professionally taken care of at Bethesda Naval Hospital, among other places. And that gave me something like battle stress or delayed stress syndrome. I learned to slowly work my way out of that. It was not easy.
What's going on in Weld County, Colorado with them having a lot of changes and also having the most cattle mutilations in the whole world.
Cattle mutilations are government-sponsored alien operations and have been since they were first started in 1967. Actually, they were probably going on much earlier. And the upshot of that was the glandular, we allow the aliens to extract glandular secretions from animals, mixing them with their own. In exchange, we'll give them plutonium products for their drive, for their spaceship drives, among making alien elements for them, and they give us the biological weapons. Isn't that a nice, horrible scenario? So this kind of stuff is bad news indeed. By the way, being a U.S. citizen in good standing, I can't stand it anymore. I think we can do better. And if our government officials will not keep, in other words, if they keep telling us the big lie, keep purporting the big lie, I think it's time we not only vote them out, we demand them out. We impeach them out. And if we can't do that, I advocate just what our founding fathers say. Federal government structure out of control is totalitarian slavery. And we must vigorously fight them out. And of course, the trouble is with revolutions, folks, they always end up killing their own people. And I don't advocate the overthrow of my government. But right now, my government is not in touch with me, or you, or anybody else. And it's kind of mood after that.
What again was the number of estimated alien downed craft?
Pretty close to 800,000 all total. As we speak, the Russians are shooting down 2 a day per province within motherland Russia. The Southern Hemisphere 6 per day, the United States 1 per day, and Europe 1 per day. It's a full-scale invasion. Just because you don't see them over the White House. By the way, you wonder why don't they, well, Billy Meyer sees them different. But first of all, of the 11 groups of aliens there are, 4 of which are benevolent, 7 of which are very evil.
Can you expound on the ones that are good or benevolent?
Well, the ones purported by Billy Meyer are the Pleiadians, or Pleiadians, from the 7-star cluster, the Pleiades. That's one of the groups. There's another group from the other side of Orion, another group from about 3,500 light years out, supposedly still with us. I don't remember their name offhand, but they're a very small individual, human-looking but childlike, but very large cranium, very large heads. IQs off the scale, and they can do no wrong. They're the angelic type. They don't fly around with little wings or anything. By angelic, I mean that they can't do wrong. They physically can't do wrong.
Inspired. Spielberg and
They weigh about 30 pounds.
E.T. movie. Probably inspired them.
How about the fourth one?
Well, the fourth one is really 2 groups, and they're extremely tall individuals. They're predominantly ocean, deep ocean. They live in deep oceans, and they basically harvest our minerals, and then they're kind of, you can see, they're always in oceans of below 20,000 feet. They're these 2-tiered antennas found, and of course our submarines have found them years and years ago. In fact, during World War II, some submarine warfare and encountered several at very shallow depth. They didn't know whose weapon or whatever they were.
Are the aliens our biggest threat, or is our federal government the biggest threat?
Both are our major threat at present. bad enough we have one, well, let alone two.
Does Will County, Colorado have an underground base in that area?
Colorado has 3 underground bases, one at DIA. I believe what you mentioned, what was it,
Weld County is the biggest, one of the biggest counties in the United States.
I believe it's in the northeastern section of that county, if I remember. And I'd have to look at a map. I can identify every base on a map. I have the latitudes and longitudes of such bases. By the way, if I mention that does entail espionage. If I mention all of them, and I cannot do that to the crowd, and I want to keep on talking as much as I can. So that's one thing I promised to do, but I have to break my promise, and I'll tell you that it's wrong in admitting that.
I encountered something when I was back east. I was with friends up there.
You'll have to speak, otherwise.
I visited Minnesota. I was coming back and I decided to take a different route to get off of the interstates to take U.S. Highway 36 across northern Kansas. And about 20 miles from the Colorado border, there was suddenly construction. 36 was completely cut off. They had detours and went way around, and I didn't do that. I just went down and got on I-70. But over that area, about, I guess, 15 minutes later, I saw strange formation clouds in perfect chrysalis. And I was convinced there's something very active. And
There's
usually cut off in U.S. highways.
the name of those clouds is, if I can interrupt, is altocumulus lenticulatus, or lens-shaped clouds. Almost always predominantly, there are 2 kinds of clouds. The kind, if you go up to Virginia City sometime in April or May, you'll see these clouds that come right up, roaring up the steep mountain. You'll look at them and they'll just disappear. They'll cease to go over your shoulder. It's nothing. It's kind of, that's altocumulus lenticulatus A. And the B kind, it almost looks as like a black thunderstorm-like cloud. And they always have metallic discs in the center. And if you take your camera, your eye won't probably see them. The camera will pick up metallic dots within that cloud structure, and those dots can be professionally analyzed, and you come up with the conclusion that they are flying discs.
I've hardly ever see those clouds more than 20-30 miles from mountains. I at that point was at least 200 air miles, straight line distance from Long Peak, which is one of the nearest big mountain
I had spotted such near Portland, Oregon, and took pictures, submitting it to a TV radio station and TV and radio station, which they've never got on the air. I wonder why. But they're rare clouds. If you ever have a chance to take a picture of them, you should.
What causes the cloud?
Well, the natural formation, of course, is altocumulus. They're extremely high cumulus cloud formation. Of course, cumulus is a building. It's a big, kind of like a thunderhead or a thundercloud. It's air currents rushing up, and of course, with the altocumulus lens-shaped or cookie-shaped clouds, you have air currents rushing up. Air currents rushing up and air currents rushing down, and what they do is they compress the clouds, and then there's air circulation, generally in a clockwise or counterclockwise measure. I studied weather when I was in high school. That was one of our curriculum, believe it or not.
But you've got it right there. It's a man-made one of sorts.
Well, yeah, I mean, the A-bomb is the A-bomb cloud is a lenticulatus.
If we're downing one a day in this country, wouldn't it seem logical that there would be more people that would be aware of debris?
No, I'll tell you why. As soon as one is downed, they're attacking certain northern tier state Air Force bases, predominantly. If you can get on those bases or stray onto those Air Force bases without getting arrested, good luck. But if one of those craft is down, they seal off the whole area, period. They being the federal government, police and whatnot, Air Force police or whatever, air base or army base or tank base or whatever you got in that area, they seal off the whole area. Anybody caught in there is shot on sight or immediately arrested and detained. By the way, a military base can circumvent the U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights. An Indian reservation can do the same thing. Is this what our government, this was supposed to have been laid out by our founding fathers? I don't believe so. I think we can do better. I know we can do better. I also know that our present government's stature is so punitive, it's very reminiscent of early Nazi days with Adolf Hitler. In fact, New World Order was taken from his manifesto, so to speak, in 1933. He actually said, "We will form a new world order."
Where was the third one in Colorado? You said one was DIA, the second one was at northeastern part of Weld County.
One is down, I believe, you know where Telluride, Colorado is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, it's due east of Telluride by about 13 or 14 miles, if I remember. And you can't miss it because if you take some of the side roads, you'll see vented air shafts coming right out of the rock. That's typical of an underground base. Or if you're traveling along by car, by jet, you'll see a truncated mountain. Remember the truncated mountain? You saw as we were curving around going to Las Vegas and the plane was banking like this. And I said, "Hey Al, look at the deep underground military base." And the cockpit door was open. It says, "Oh God," and what they did is they did this and worked around and just as you got your camera out.
Right.
I already had a picture of it. And that was, by the way, one of the bases at S4, because it had circled around Area 51, and that was one of the bases. So I actually saw it from the air. It's been there, for about 30,000.
How deep are they?
They can run, the deepest deep underground military base is 2.5 miles underground. The Dulce base is 2.5 miles underground. That's pretty close to 13,000 feet. 5,280 feet make a mile.
You don't have any temperature, high temperature problems?
No, as a matter of fact, in certain sandstones, you actually get a lower temperature involved than ground surface.
And water?
Water leaches out. Of course, that has to be sealed. Protective sealant, very difficult in some cases. By the way, this ring I'm wearing has a sapphire. When you blow mountains apart, there's sapphires in mountains. I had that professionally cut, where it kind of is a good luck piece. It's a blonde 6-ray star sapphire, American star sapphire.
It's been working.
Yes.
You might add.
I had it cut and polished and setting made in Las Vegas. Some of my different days. Yeah.
Well, what about when you're just driving along and there seems to be nothing around and you'll see these white pipes coming out of the ground with turbines on the top?
Exactly.
Is that one?
That's one type.
There's one of those
It's an
in
air shaft.
Denver. I mean, I've seen them along the highways in Denver. It's like industrial or commercial stuff over here, and then all of a sudden you see all these white tubings along the highway.
Those are air shafts. Some of them are run very deep. Some of them are run only 400 or 500 feet underground.
You don't have to be a military tactician. That's very vulnerable. Plug those things up and pump some bad gas down there while it happens.
Well, I guess I'm not a tactician on such, so
Yeah.
that's kind of moot. Yeah, that's one way of telling. Yes, sir.
Are there any of those underground bases in Nebraska or Kansas?
In every state, there's at least 2.
You know where they are in Nebraska?
I'd have to look on a map. I couldn't tell you.
Probably off it.
Beg pardon?
Probably off it. Air Force Base.
Yeah, probably off it. Maybe a good That's also where they took some of the alien remains and saucer remains right off the bat. It's off at Air Force. Okay, any more questions? One more question.
Do they have an underground base up by Sedona, Arizona? North?
Yes, sir. Yes, we do, and it's a very deep base indeed. In fact, they're going to make it deeper than any other base. They want to take it 4 miles down.
What's it called again?
Sedona, Arizona.
Is that one that's just
A
north?
lot of the,
Kentucky?
I beg pardon?
Just northeast of there, or northwest?
Yes, just northwest. Well, that's all, folks, and I think I better leave some time for Al Bailey. And I better munch a sandwich before I become an alien. Anyway,
Thank you.
it's been a real pleasure. And I hope you've had some hand-on experience. By the way, there's some little metallic fragments you might be able to pick up. I don't know, they might be alien. Thanks.
Thank you.